Strawberry season is one of my favorite times of year. And although we've enjoyed a few fresh, delicious berries from Griffin's strawberry plants that he takes such meticulous care of, we didn't have nearly enough to preserve any of the harvest. Thankfully, we came across a decent sale and were able to purchase around 10 pounds of strawberries. As I was not feeling well enough to can at the time, I simply washed the berries, removed the stems and leaves, and froze them for a later date. Once that day finally arrived, I was so excited to begin canning. This is only my second experience canning by myself, but I was determined to put up both strawberry preserves and strawberry jam in the same morning. Although I made modifications to these recipes, I'll link them below because I want to give credit where credit is due. For the strawberry preserves, I began by measuring out 9 cups of strawberries per batch and placing them in a large pot. To the berries, I added 4 cups of sugar and 4 tablespoons of lemon juice, stirring the mixture together. I cooked the berries on medium heat until the preserves reached a boil. I had to stir them frequently to prevent them from burning. When the berries reached a rolling boil, I turned the heat down to medium and simmered the berries, occasionally stirring them, until the syrup had thickened and would stick to the back of a metal spoon or reach 220 degrees Fahrenheit. While the berries were cooking, I placed all of the jars and rings I would use into my canner, filled it with water, and sterilized the jars for at least 10 minutes. As soon as the preserves had thickened, I removed them from the heat. Once the preserves were ready and the jars and rings were sterilized, I filled the jars one by one, leaving a 1/4-inch headspace. Then it was time to wipe the rims of the jars with a damp cloth, place the lids, which had been simmering in some water, on the jars, add the bands, and tighten the bands until finger tight. To process the jars, I placed them back in my canner where the water was boiling and came to at least 1 inch above the jars. I boiled them for 5 minutes and then turned off the heat and waited another 5 minutes before removing the jars and placing them in a draft-free area for 24 hours. After 24 hours, I checked all of the seals and every single one of them had sealed perfectly. Here's a pro tip I learned from my neighbor. If you see pectin at the store during canning season, stock up. I sent Griffin to the store that morning to retrieve some, and lo and behold, there was none to be found. Thankfully, our sweet neighbors saved the day and were much smarter than me and had stocked up on plenty of pectin and were very kind to share it with us. To make the strawberry jam, I began by thawing 4 pounds of the strawberries. I then realized that I needed to mash them. And as I do not own a potato masher, I tried a couple other methods and then just wound up crushing them with my hands, which worked because my hands were clean, but my goodness was it cold. I then stirred in the water, pectin, and a 1/4 cup of the sugar in with the berries. I cooked the mixture over medium-high heat, stirring constantly until the jam reached a boil. I then added the remaining sugar and stirred continuously while it boiled hard for 1 minute. While the jam was cooking, I once again made sure that my canner was sterilizing my jars and rings. Once the jam was done cooking, I removed it from the heat and allowed it to cool for 5 minutes. After it had cooled, I skimmed off the foam. To can the jam, I ladled it into clean, hot jars, once again leaving a 1/4-inch headspace. I then debubbled them, wiped the rims clean, placed the lids that had been simmering and the bands on each jar, and tightened until finger tight. These jars were then processed for 10 minutes in my boiling canner, and then, same as for the preserves, I placed them on a towel in a draft-free area and allowed them to sit for 24 hours. And once again, all of them sealed. I wish I had bought more berries when I had the opportunity, but it was a good lesson for me. I'm very excited to take advantage of other seasonal harvests this summer. What is something you enjoy putting up? What is something you want to try this year? I look forward to learning a whole lot more about canning and preserving. For now, my husband and I are going to enjoy a special treat of pancakes with chocolate chips, of course, topped with strawberry preserves and that delicious strawberry foam. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you're having a delicious and happy summer.